will make this talk in English because some teammates at Trainline are speaking English and probably are not speaking French in a French language, etc. So I decided to improvise, and the slide is French, but I will also duplicate them in English afterwards. So the purpose of this talk is to talk about Git hooks written in Swift, and I think Yang, you made a transition with SwiftLint because a good practice is to run SwiftLint in the Git hooks, right? So, all right, quickly. So I work at Shopmium, l'appli qui rembourse vos courses, refund your groceries. Thank you. And if you want to have a free tablet chocolate, you can scan this QR code, and if you write this code and you have a tablet chocolate, it will unlock a free 100% refund tablet chocolate. So enjoy. All right. All right. So just a quickly survey here. 3 questions, one by one. I would like to know in your project here who is using Git hooks in their project. So just by hand. So it's not a lot. All right. So now this question, who has already written script Swift? Okay. So it's not a lot. Cool. And last question, and I think it will be almost no one, I guess. Who has already versioned in hooks those scripts? Okay, there is a winner here. Nice. All right. So it's possible. And it may interest you, I hope. All right. So first of all, just to speak to everyone, what is the Git hooks? Because not all people are using. Maybe some of you are not using it. So there are scripts that are run when you are running some Git commands. Okay. So depending on the commands you are using, so if it's a checkout or not a clone, not this one, but a checkout, a switch, a push, a commit, or well, a lot. There are some scripts that are triggered before, after those commands. All right, so you can execute something when you are using this command, and you can run scripts. So you can run Python's script shell or Swift. Because we can run we can write some script with Swift, and so they are located at inside hidden folder, which is the .git. When you are cloning a repository, there is a .git folder, and we can't version it because it comes when you are cloning it, and you are not cloning. You cannot version them. But it's possible to make a workaround because this code would be useless if it could not. So, what version these Git hooks? So they belong to the project. It's tooling that help you to have quality on the code if you are using SwiftLint, Swift format, or also specific rules such as I want nobody can commit something that is not clean. For example, if you are following the conventional Git, such as starting your branch with feat, fix, chore, etc. Right? For example, if you want to force developers to not forget to put the Jira ticket, the Jira link ticket key inside your commit, you can force it on your Git hooks. So it's on some rules that help to the quality of the code. So you should use we have to use it, and because it's tooling, it could be normal that there should be version in your project, right? And since it's version on the inside using Git, it's easy to share because officially they are not versions, so it's not easy to share it. If I update it, for example, I have included now SwiftLint as a tooling on the Git hooks on the project, but I will not be able to share because it doesn't belong to the Git inside the Git source. So there will be no announcement, kind of. I have updated the Git hook, so please go, for example, in the conference page, or I don't know where they are specially hosted, copy paste on this location, so be careful to remove the .swift extension, etc. And don't forget also to add, for example, the execution permission. Okay? So there will be no more announcement like this. so it's a big question. Why should you write in Swift? Because by default, it's script shell. Yeah, so because it's default and Swift is not a old language, right? It's only since, I mean, it's not old. Script shell, it does exist since a long time. A long time, everybody knows. So there is a lot of source example of Git hooks written in script shell. But we decided to write them in Swift because there are some advantages, such as the type. It's strongly typed, which is not the case for script shell, for example. Everybody knows, as a iOS developer, Swift, right? And we can take benefits of his code. I don't know if it's a real plus, but we can, or we can also use Visual Studio Code, right? And to talk about some limits about Swift script, so written source code in script, because it's not exactly the same. It's not exactly the same developer experience. There are some limitations. The first one is we don't have import. It's very important to keep this in mind because it's a strong limitation in reality, the biggest one when we are writing the Git hooks in Swift. We cannot use import. So we can't have something clean such as, for example, hey, I would like to put a command file, command.swift, to put everything that is common between our Git hooks in a specific file, and to import them into our main Git hooks, and just as a library, we pick some function, etc. So if there is no import, it doesn't work. If there is a specific error for that, it doesn't work. And a little limitation is because of script, manner of writing Swift in script, the guard is not running well because there is a conflict between the exit function, which exits the script, and the guard that needs to return. It said, hey, when you are compiling it, it screams that you don't need a return. We don't need a return in the guard because exits already make the job, but the guard said, I need a return or a throw to do it. So there is well, it's not clean, but it's not a real limitation. It's just that you should pay attention with the guard when you are using a function in script. If you try, you will see quickly what happened. And the last one is you will need script shell anyway. So how to version it? So what you will need is a file which we commonly call configure. So if you already download and compile an open source project, you often see at the root of a project a configure file. So we also decide to have a configure file in our project. And this is here where we will launch everything. And I will describe just after. So it's right. So this script, it's a script, shell script. It's not a Swift script. And because we can't, we could write it in Swift as well, but it's it's written in scripture. But yeah, this one is written in a shell, and it will initialize all our Git hooks, and yeah, it will. And this file is version on Git. So the step one. The step one, I'm describing this just to let you know, to understand what these lines really means. So this line say that, so when we execute the script, and they need to execute when you clone the project, right? It's take all the script that the Git hooks that will be after copy paste into your .git folder, because it's not, remember, it's not version, it's here, but there is nothing here, and you have to do something to put them here. All right, so we have written our Swift, our future Git hooks, but I have put here in a Git hooks folder version on Git. Okay, so I have here a post checkout, a post merge, a pre-commit, a prepare commit, and a pre-push. This is 5 Git hooks for different. So for example, this one, the pre-push, it will be a Git hooks that will be run before pushing code. Pre-commit and prepare commit are both they are running when just before creating a commit. One is to catch the message, and the other is just before committing. This is where usually we run Swift lint, for example. Post merge, it's when you just after merge something, and post checkout is after you check out something. Okay. The second step when you write it, it's to make this. So this command is the way you want to this and this. It's to take you take a file, you concatenate. It took those two files here, and I will put it here. And if you see, I have a utils.swift. Why I have to do that? This is because there is no import feature on Swift. I can't take two files. I cannot just put a single file here and inside it as import utils.swift. So what I is doing here, I take the content of utils.swift and postcheckout.swift, and I both concatenate it inside the post checkout at the right location. And this is the hack where you can have like common source code here, and you put it at the end into one single file. Okay? And so I did it. So if you see, all the time I have my util here, because there is a lot of file function in command, in command, and after I concatenate with all my different Git hooks, and I put it inside my destination real Git hooks. And the last step you should not forget is just to be sure that you have the execution permission, because by default, when you're creating a file, it's not executable. And this is the real work, not a workaround, like the trick. The problem is that if you stop at just the configure file, what you will have, like as a feature, is just the ability to set up the clone when you will execute the configure script all the Git hooks. But what about if afterwards a developer updates it? You have to say, hey, I have updated the Git hooks. To put to launch again the configure, right? Because if you don't do it, you will not have the new version of the Git hooks. Except if you use the post checkout and the post merge as a script in the hooks, that the only purpose of it will be to execute again the configure. Like this, if you git pull the source code, so the new future Git hooks, because when you are git pulling, there is post checkout executed, it will automatically update the Git hooks. This is where there is the trick. So at the end, for example, the real post checkout, this is my util. This is, for example, the part of what is on Git, so the small post checkout, but the post checkout script, it looks like this, for example. And just to don't forget to put this, what I call we call the shebang, because without that it will do nothing, because by default it will look after bash. And if you put the shebang, the path to Swift, it will execute the script with Swift compiler. Okay? So it's just a sample. But if you are using, for example, the pre-commit, it will look, for example, you will have util.swift here, and here you will not have that. You will have just the Swift lint, and if it fails, you should not push, etc. It will prevent you to push, to commit or to push. All right. And that's all. What I can give you some tips to go further is, for example, you can put here, for example, a Swift lint. If you want to, you should use it in your Git hooks. But the problem is, everybody doesn't have the same version on Swift lint if you are using on the command line, because you should also, if you are using it in the Git hooks, you will have to have the Swift lint installed locally and not with CocoaPods or SPM. And the problem is that you cannot control the version of who has the Swift lint version 1. On my machine, I have 1.1, so probably not the same rule. but you can use Brew Bundle and install and control the version of the tool by putting the installation in the configure. Like this, if you after update the brewfile.lock the version of, for example, SwiftLint, everybody will have the same version without saying, hey, don't forget to update your SwiftLint version, because it will be done in the configure because you use a bundle here. And the second thing is, well, if you understand, you can also share this with an Android team, okay? Because util.swift will be probably the same thing, so don't hesitate to use a Git module, and like this, you can share also this with the rest of the team. And that's all. I don't have a last slide, I think.
Merci Chris. Ouais.
I see that you concatenate the file into a file directly in the githooks folder. Can't you just do a link, like create the file one time and just do a ln something and do a link into githooks?
The problem is the ln was the first.
Yeah.
When so the ln is the other method in my I think in my pitch I said I will present you one solution we have taken.
Okay.
The second solution is this one. The problem is because of the import. How you will be able to share two files?
No, you still do the concatenation, but you keep it in the main in the main folder, and you just do a link into the githooks, so you don't need to reconfigure every time with a post merge and a post checkout.
Maybe.
You need to, if they change, you need to do the concatenation again, though.
I don't know because
I don't think they change that often. I mean, and the file could be concatenated directly into the version, the repository. So you would have it. Maybe like if you change it, you change the concatenate file maybe. Or have a script to concatenate it again, but once in a while when you do it, instead of at every merge, every something.
yeah.
Maybe.
Well, maybe we should try, but finally we use the other method is if you don't need two files, you can just simply use the symlink, create a symbolic link with this file, the hooks into the git hooks folder, so not the real one, to the new one. And it will work. The more important is anyway to put something in a post checkout or in a post merge. Why? Because imagine you have only one hook, but later you add a new one. So if you didn't put the script configure in your in your post checkout, etc., you will not have the new one. You will have only the update of the existing one. Just to let you know, right? So the more important also. Whereas the magic is working is that this line is very important, and usually you don't really use the post merge or post checkout. Honestly, it's the first time I implement those git hooks, and it was to refresh the hooks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question. I have a case when we have multiple repositories and each one has its own version of Git. So how can you ensure sharing the same Git hooks for the multiple repositories? You already shared with us like ensuring for one repository to have the same version, but how can we do it like for multiple repositories?
It will depend on. It will be up to you because it will depend on the tools you are running in the Git hooks. Because if your project doesn't, for example, let's use SwiftLint.
Okay.
If there is a project that is built with Swift 5.9,
okay.
So you have I don't know specific rules in your Git hooks. Well, you will choose to share or not across the different repositories using Git modules. It will honestly, up to you to share it or not. You,
Okay.
you can share or you cannot. The only thing that you have to do is to have a configure file. I mean, yeah, to have something in a config file and. But
Okay. So like we should do the configure file in each repositories.
no.
It's, is
No,
is
no,
there
no,
a
you
way
can-
to?
You-
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's risky to share. You have to be sure that all the projects
Yeah.
are running, are using the same rules, because at the
Okay.
end, GitHooks is just to enforce rules. So enforce to be sure that we don't skip SwiftLint,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we could, technically speaking, and with the GitHooks, even with the GitHooks, we could, because we can just skip the hooks, the checks by disabling, by I don't remember, no verify. So you choose, because it depends also on the
Yeah.
setup, because sometimes inside the hooks after you share some rules, for example regarding your Jira project, because I didn't put all my rules here, but I have some Jira rules to be sure that we don't forget
Yeah, I see.
the inside the commit the
Mm.
key of because we want to track the key inside the commit, the message, etc. We have to also to follow a conventional commit with the name of the branch. We have also different stuff.
I see. I
And
see.
so, but it depends on the project, honestly.
Exactly,
If
yeah.
you want to share it or not. The most important, if you can share utils.swift, because you have probably a lot of things inside
For
to
sure.
share. and to
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Just like generic rules that can be used to the multiple.
For example, also helpers, because
Yeah.
when you want to extract a Jira key into a
Yeah.
commit message, it's a lot of it's some kind of boilerplate, the
Yeah.
same things, and you want to extract it because maybe you want to put it or just function, for example, for success when your script is, to make it your script beautiful. For example, I put some colors because I use colors everywhere in my different hooks, and I don't want to put it to duplicate it.
For sure. Okay. Thanks.
Est-ce qu'on a une autre question, potentiellement en français aussi, ça peut passer. Il y a des gens qui sont pas trop à l'aise avec.
Je parle
Anglais.
français.
Bien sûr. T'écris vachement bien en français, quoi. Non, ah, pardon.
Est-ce que tu peux nous donner des exemples de Git ou ce que vous utilisez
Ok. Ouais.
vous chez Shopnum?
Ouais, juste une question. Vous utilisez à BAM des hooks ou pas? Pardon, juste à la... Ouais, ok. En fait, en général, les trucs qui sont bien dans les hooks, c'est par exemple justement dans les pré-commits, c'est de checker la propreté des commits, par exemple, d'avoir, si on veut que les commits ils aient le nom de clé Jira, de faire une regex pour dire si tu peux pas committer si tu as oublié le ticket Jira. Parce qu'en fait, alors je pense que peut-être qu'il y en a qui disent attention, t'as oublié de mettre le ticket machin dans ton commit. Si vous faites ça à la main dans vos PR, franchement, sachez qu'il y a les Git que ça a la place. Donc voilà, donc ça typiquement il y a ça. Donc en général on regarde un petit peu sur les commits parce que du coup comme on est en plein dans le cœur du poulet des commits dans les GitHooks, tu as accès à toute l'API pour nettoyer tes commits. Et après surtout c'est l'outillage. Par exemple, tu peux pas committer par exemple si tu as des warnings. Donc en fait au moment où tu commits, tu fais ça en général sur les fichiers qui sont stage, donc tu ne fais pas sur les fichiers du projet, mais justement en input de tes GitHooks te donne les fichiers justement qui ont été modifiés. Donc tu lances en fait du coup SwiftLint sur les fichiers modifiés via l'API SwiftLint en ligne de commande. Et du coup tu peux dire justement si SwiftLint a échoué, donc c'est-à-dire que sur la sortie d'erreur, là du coup en code de retour que tu as accès à l'API, enfin du coup dans Script Shell ou même du coup je l'ai pas mis, enfin si je crois que je l'ai mis, mais en Swift il y avait une fonction ici là que j'ai mis, exact. Ça en fait du coup c'est la fonction pour exécuter une commande shell et du coup vérifier la sortie si le code de retour il a réussi ou pas. Ou ça le print et ça me le donne, ça me le print et ça me le donne ici en paramètre. Et après j'ai juste à tester si le code de retour a été 0 ou pas, parce que 0 par défaut dans le terminal, du coup c'est quand ça a marché et quand il y a eu une erreur, c'est-à-dire SwiftLint a eu une erreur. Et du coup, on peut récupérer ces erreurs. Et si du coup, ça veut dire qu'il y a des warnings, parce que nous, on traite les warnings à 0. Et du coup, on dit, si SwiftLint, il y a un warning, tu commits pas. Et du coup, tu as la sortie pour dire, elle est là, ici, output. Donc, on display aussi l'output en paramètre. Et du coup, on dit, en fait, tu commits pas. Et voilà pourquoi. Parce qu'en fait, tu n'as pas géré des warnings. Voilà, en gros. Et donc, en général, il y a les warnings. Bon après, je sais pas s'il y en a qui font des Android dessus, mais en gros, ici, mais en gros on met, oui, on met Android Lint, on met Detect, KT-Lint, on a quoi d'autre? On peut mettre périphérie aussi, du coup, donc pour détecter le code mort sur iOS. Périphérie, donc si vous arrivez à le lancer, si vous avez du SPM, c'est moins évident, moi j'ai pas réussi perso, enfin du coup on le met dans Xcode mais pas dans la ligne de commande, c'est dommage, enfin j'ai pas réussi, voilà. Mais du coup de style périphérie, donc en fait tout ce qui peut améliorer la qualité du code et qu'on ne veut pas bypasser, on est en fait en gros on n'est pas censé normalement dans la théorie aussi de le passer par Xcode pour ça, parce que Xcode on l'a pas sur la CI, donc on le met sur la CI, et le truc c'est qu'on pourrait éditer du code sans passer par Xcode. Donc l'idée c'est aussi de mettre ça dans les hooks, parce qu'on pourrait oublier de regarder sur Xcode, si on a SwiftLint qui ne claque pas forcément des erreurs quand on l'a dit, bon, je veux un warning mais en fait je ne veux pas oublier, et du coup en fait les git hooks ils sont là pour ça, mais pour faire des choses en plus. Voilà. Et au pré-push, il y a souvent, là ça fait débat, mais on peut lancer les tests unitaires au pré-push, c'est-à-dire une fois qu'on push, pour éviter d'attendre que la CI te dise, en fait, tes tests, ils passent pas, tu as oublié de les mettre à jour. Donc, en général, au pré-push, on peut lancer les tests unitaires, on peut lancer des trucs un peu plus longs, de quali. Par exemple, si on avait un mode mock, une target mock, et qu'on maintient, mais que des fois on oublie, ça arrive aussi de pouvoir bider. En gros, c'est le moment jamais, tu pushes, ça fait des trucs un peu plus longs, tu prends ta pause café. Et après, quand tu as fini ta pause café, ton push est passé, nickel. Et si du coup ton push passe pas parce que tu n'as pas mis à jour les tests, eh ben, tu verras avant que ta CI te dise que ça n'a pas marché. Voilà. Donc en gros, utilisez les git hooks. Hein.